Joining us now, former CBO Director, American Action Forum President, Doug Holtz-Eakin. It's great to have you back on. What's your reaction to that story?
Thanks, Liz.
It's good to see you. What's your reaction to it?
Look, this is going to have no effect on inflation. The theory of the case is that it reduces deficits by $300 billion and that this will take pressure off of spending and reduce inflation. It doesn't do anything for the first 5 years. So it does $30 billion, $60 billion, 6 years from now. If we still have this inflation 6 years from now, we have much bigger problems. So This is a non-contributor to the inflation fight. Worse, Liz, in the time that we've been watching them pass this, they also passed CHIPS Plus Science Act, $300 billion of deficit finance spending, a PACT Act for veterans, up to $600 billion of deficit finance spending. They're continuing to spend and spend and spend elsewhere. So there's no contribution to and they're underspending. They're estimating how important inflation is. We heard this when they were celebrating the July CPI report. If you ignore the decline in gasoline prices, which was good news, great, we have the same rate of inflation on everything else, 5.9% that we had the month before, no real progress. And it's getting worse on shelter and other key parts of people's budgets. So we need to really get serious about fighting inflation. Congress isn't doing it. The administration isn't doing it.
It's a branding thing, right? I mean, Build Back Better was a marketing branding thing. Inflation Reduction Act was a branding thing. It's really a climate and health spending bill. But Democrats are now dialing it back. They're avoiding answering whether it will cut inflation at all. Watch this.
When you think about the energy costs and utility bills because of the investments that we're making, they're going to feel that right away.
They're going to feel that right away.
They're going to feel that right away.
So should voters measure the success of this bill on how much you reduce inflation in the next couple of years?
So this bill spins out over several years. And so the tax provisions, for example, some of the tax revenue will happen immediately. Some of the benefits in terms of deficit reduction will materialize over time.
And what parts of the bill do you think will quickly work on that specifically?
Next question.
I want to take a moment to say a few words about the so-called Inflation Reduction Act. And I say so-called, by the way, because according to the CBO, and other economic organizations who have studied this bill, it will in fact have a minimal impact on inflation.
So why is Bernie Sanders the lone voice of reason? You know what I mean, Doug? He's agreeing with UPenn Wharton, CBO, which you ran, and JP Morgan Chase's chief economist. So Bernie Sanders is the canary in the coal mine here? I mean, there's like $5 trillion in spending since 2020. Your word on that?
I mean, he's correct in his judgment. How he came to that conclusion, I think, is not too complicated. This doesn't do anything for inflation. It's not hard to see that. And it doesn't do what he wanted to do in terms of blowing up the size of the federal budget. This is bad enough. He wanted 5 times more. So he's disappointed in the outcome. I'm disappointed in the outcome, too, but for very different reasons. This country has a government whose budget is out of control, literally unsustainable over the long run. This is another strong step in the wrong direction, and there has to be a course correction soon, or we're not going to do the things that people really do care about.
They're putting the
get inflation under control and have a better standard of living.
You know what the course correction is? They're putting it on the backs of the American taxpayer. The course correction is for them. It's more IRS audits. It's more taxes on them. It's a minimum tax for companies that can hit small businesses. You know, you're going to watch Mohammed El-Arian on ABC saying, you know what? We're going to feel the pain of inflation for a while. And this branding thing has got to stop in D.C. because voters are saying enough already. Watch this.
We still see those food prices at the grocery store continue to be sky high, much higher than they've been before. What will the relief be? What will that look like? When could we expect to see that on the grocery store aisles?
The supply side is getting better. Commodity prices have come down. Supply chains are improving. So food inflation will get better, but it's not going to be immediate. It's going to take quite a few months for us to feel less pain when we are at the supermarket.
Okay, so you see what's going on. We had the D.C. media henhouse beltway echo chamber, right? Inflation Reduction Act's great, everything's great. But now they're looking at it, we have these major important experts like yourself, CBO, UPenn Wharton, JP Morgan Chase saying, well, it's not really going to happen. And now you got Democrats saying, yeah, it's not really going to happen anytime soon. No inflation cuts. Your final word.
Most important thing is Americans know it's not happening. When they look at food, energy, and shelter, they see prices that are 11% higher than last year. You can't fool them on that. And they know that this bill isn't going to do anything. It's just another big government spending bill. So that's the ultimate litmus test. What will the voters think when they go to the polls?
Yeah, and when the backlash comes, when they see, hey, our prices are still going up, watch Biden's polls on that and watch the Democrats polling on this too, and watch it for the midterms. Doug Holtz-Eakin, it's a pleasure having you on. Thanks for spending time with us.